Okay, what I'm going to do is show you how to do a T-top conversion on a Fox body Mustang. First of all, um, I've looked I've looked around and there's no clear instructions how to do this. I've done it one other time, and hopefully I can show you what's involved with it. So first of all, I'll start on telling you why I'm doing it. The car I'm going to be doing it to is this 1979 Mustang Indy Pace car, and the car is a very solid car. It's only got 36,000 miles, but it was just parked and just abused, and it just needs some help. So the main issue with it is with the sunroof. All these cars had a sunroof, and I'll show you why the sunroofs are so bad. Now here's the original roof skin that came off the car, and a lot of times what you'll see with the sunroof cars is they'll get some bubbling up around the sunroof here. And looking at it at first, it's not that bad. It doesn't look like it's too awful that you could probably sand it down and put some filler in it and call it good. But I'll show you why these sunroofs are such a bad design. And let me just flip this over. Okay, now here's the underside of the sunroof. Now what happens is the sunroof, where the sunroof is actually bonded to the roof skin itself, the bonding agent they use traps moisture and it holds it in there. And what happens is that it actually rusts from the inside out. You can actually see this is a different spot. This is where the trough is. There's actually, it rotted right through the trough. So there is no easy fix to this, because the only real permanent fix is to replace the entire roof skin. And roof skins for these cars are almost unavailable. I've seen a few NOS ones floating around out there, but they're big bucks. And here's the back side of it here, just to show you that it's doing the same thing. And if all you do is just sand the top of the roof and maybe put some filler in there, it's not going to fix it, because it's just going to keep rusting from the inside out. So one of the options that you have with this is to do a T-top conversion. And your best bet for doing a T-top conversion is to go to the junkyard or find a parts car and cut the entire roof off it. Now I separated the frame from the roof, but you can see there's the roof section I got from a junkyard car, and I just you cut it low on the B pillar, and you cut it straight across on the C pillar. So there's the back half of it, and this is the front half of it over here. So that was the roof, and I'll show you the frame itself. Now the frame, the T-top frame, this is the frame itself right here. Now the frame rivets to the underside of the roof structure. So here's the underside of the roof structure. And you can see right here where that frame, you see the holes where the rivets that I drilled out. So this is where the frame structure sits on the back and rivets to these braces on the side. So here's the actual T-top brace, and you can see right here, and I'll have to clean this up and paint it before I put it in, but where the rivets are. Now the brace, this brace mounts from the other side, and this right here, this top part, sits over the roof skin. And what they did was this kind of sandwiches the roof skin together, but when they put these together, they actually spot welded this all the way around here. So what you have to do is flip this piece over and drill out the spot welds, which I already did. And what happens is it'll separate the top part of the skin from the bottom. So I'll show you. You can see one of the big issues with Ford is that this is all bare metal in here. No primer, no paint, no anything. So once you clean this up, you're going to want to sand this down, and the surfaces here where they come together and get welded, you have to put a weld-through primer on there to keep any corrosion from coming through. But this right here is the bottom of the top half, and I just started cleaning that up a little bit. So just to give you an idea. So there's the two pieces. That's the bottom piece. This is the top piece. Now, what you have to do, and this is why it's critical in having a donor car, is because you have to make sure to get all the accurate measurements on where your cuts are. And you can get that from the roof skins. And you just basically, what I did was measured. Show this to you. Okay, you measure it from the back part here to where the cut is made. And first of all, before you make any cuts in the roof or anything, you want to make sure to have the car sitting on all four tires, and mine's not right now, only because I jacked it up to do the brakes. But before you make any cuts, you want to make sure that you have it on all four wheels. And before you rivet the roof structure in, you also want to make sure you have it on all four wheels, because what will happen is if you have the jack up towards the front of the control arm, it'll cause it to spring a little bit. You don't want to put that spring into the structure by riveting the roof back on. So let me just show you what I did here. And you want to lay this out with some like a fine tip mark or something. But basically, you get the measurements here. I mean, this is a quick one that I put here that's showing 4 3/8 inches from this point back to where the cut was, and I got that from measuring here. And the back side is 13 5/8 inches from the hinge location to where you're going to make the cut. And basically you just go down and you plot all these measurements all the way down on both sides until you can figure out where your cuts got to be. And don't be afraid to cut it a little bit so that it's a little bit big, because if you screw up, you can always cut more off. And the other thing is, you have this 1/2 inch right here of play, so it doesn't have to be, really the cut doesn't have to be dead nuts. And to be honest with you, when you look down this, get my engine crane out of the way, you can see that when they did the cut at the factory, it's not even straight. It's not even close to straight. Like, for instance, that rivet right there doesn't even hit the roof skin. See, these on this side, so their cut was off anyway, and you can see that it's, the flange will actually cover it a little bit. So in any event, what you want to do is cut it with I got it started with a wheel, just a cut-off wheel, and then the rest of it, the easiest thing to do that makes the nicest cut is just use a jigsaw with a metal blade. So then once you get the roof skin off, you're stuck with this interior brace, which I just popped back in there. It's just sitting in there right now. It's already cut. But you want to cut through that. The best thing I found to use is a sawzall to cut right down through it. So that's what you got to do right there, is cut through the brace in the front and the back. And the other thing that you need to do, and I could show you on this here, is there's a brace. You have to cut right here off so that you can pop. There's a separate brace that gets riveted to the inside of this. So the inner T-top frame sandwiches this structure in here. And you can see right there that there's some rivets that hold it in there. And I'll show you. You can see on the inside. I don't know if the light's that good. So what I got here, you really can't see it, but that's that brace right there. So once you get that out, there's a part of the T-top frame that rivets in there. And you can see my rivets. You want to put some sealant in there, just to keep it from squeaking if the car flexes or anything. So let me show you how the top goes on. Once you get that done, grab the top. You have to put some sealant on the inside of these flanges here. You just run a bead of sealant right there, and that's what seals the top to the roof skin. So I'll set this on here just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so basically that's the top part of the skin in place, and this skin in the front rivets into the roof skin with I believe it's 8-inch rivets. In the back, if you see here, the back is kind of floppy. That rivets into the roof skin here, but there is a brace that you need. And this brace, maybe I could show you on this. This is what the brace looks like. It's a thicker piece of metal. And this goes underneath. And you rivet. What you do is you rivet into this thicker piece of metal. So you'll drill through the roof skin and into this. And that is what gives it stiffness. Get the back of the roof skin stiffness. Now, after you get that done, you center that in, and you get that done. Then it's time to do the bottom. So the bottom part of the brace is right here and goes in from underneath. And once that goes in underneath, I'll show you the rivets. Okay, right here are the rivet holes that you rivet it in. This here, what you can see here is the spot welds that I had to drill out in order to separate that top half. And what I'm going to do when I put this back together is, instead of welding in from the bottom, what I'm going to do is clamp it right here, and I'm just gonna tack it in every place it was all the way around to sandwich that in. Now the rivets that you got to use are these big ass rivets right here. These are a 1/4 inch by a 1/2 inch, and these are the ones that take a special riveter. And to be honest with you, if you just use a hand riveter, you're gonna have forearms like Popeye by the time you're done with this. So the best thing to do is really just get one of these hydraulic air riveters from, it's just, you squeeze the trigger and it pops it right through, and believe me, it'll pay for itself on this job. So after you get the top frame in, there's just a couple more little trim pieces, which, let's see, that's the driver's side. These are right here. So this is what the T-top bolts into, or latches into, I should say. So this piece gets riveted to the frame right there, and then you can see where you have to rivet it to the B-pillar. That's the back piece. All right. And then this, bear with me. All right, this is the front piece, and does the same thing. You can see there where it rivets into the top. So there are special, there's special weather strip. There's a retainer that I don't have to show you right now that screws into the A-pillar, and another one into the side of the B-pillar that retains the weather strip so that runs all the way around. And really the next part of it, that's basically the long and short of the T-top conversion for the car. The second part of it is converting the doors, because these doors, you can convert these doors, but basically you got to change the guts from a T-top door. Namely, I mean, the big thing is the glass. So what I got is some doors off a junkyard car. The doors are trashed, but I'm going to use the guts. And basically what you do is, to convert these doors, you have to cut the top part of the frame off here, and another one I believe it's right above the mirror. I'm going to have to get the door and measure to figure out what it is. And once you pull the framework off, you pull the guts out of the window, put the channel and the glass from the other ones, and then there's some adjustments you have to make. And then you'll be able to, basically, that's it for having a T-top car. So it's not terribly difficult. There's a lot of measuring. You got to really take your time and just make sure that everything is double and triple checked before you make any cuts. But you know, really, the one thing that'll surprise you when you start getting into it is seeing how rough they did the conversion at the factory. I mean, they just, you know, you could see that they just took a Sawzall and just went nuts. I mean, none of the lines are straight. It's crooked. You know, they did a terrible job sealing the framework to the roof skin, and you'll be able to do a much better job than the factory did when they did the conversion. So if you have one of these Fox bodies with a rusted out sunroof, this is an option for fixing that, and we'll also give you a T-top car. So this is something people have always asked me about. I think the last one I did was about 15 years ago, but this will give you an idea as to what's involved, and if you got any questions on it, let me know, or if I missed anything, let me know. But I'm not a professional body shop guy. I just like to come home from work and wrench on my cars to keep my sanity. So that's about it. If there's any questions, let me know.